And now we get to Act of the Year. Oh, this wasn't as bad to make as the best projects of the year list, but again, I still struggled. And I've just looked at the votes that you guys have put in, and when I get to your list, I'll reveal some of the numbers in it, because wow, I've been recording for nearly 3 hours now. I want to get through this list, but all right. Act of the Year. Number 5, Husky. Husky made my list in the end because he's had legal issues. He's been in and out of prison. And the man has still been more relevant than 95% of everybody else. He has managed to go through so much personal shit this year, from my understanding, and still create some of the best music and have some of the coldest features we've heard this year. I can't rub him out. Have you heard him on Russell Coit? Are you nuts? So then the 10 Toes on the Road feature, to then the Record EP, of course, which we've just discussed. But how do you navigate this list without mentioning him? Number 4 on the list is Lisi. Now, Lisi was number 4 on my hottest prospect list last year, I believe. I believe he was number 4. He was someone who I expected to do big things, but not to the level he's doing it now. Not to like everything I touch turns into millions. Every feature he's done has been cold. As well as being part of the West, he's carried his own independent brand. He has created one of the best projects of the year. Like, he played everything correctly this year, in my opinion. And to top it all off, I agree with the direction he's going in. He's talking about like growing up from nothing and still making something of yourself. And I really heavily resonate with that story. Number 3 on my list, Hooligan Hefs. Hefs is just... Hefs is doing Hefs things. Again, another example of everything I touch turns to millions. I've created one of the best projects this year, EPs this year. Every feature I have, or every feature I'm on, smashes it. He's done like things like the Rover remix that are just fucking incredible. And then to do it in not only one genre, but to do like the club dance music, to then do the rap shit, to then do the drill shit, and to just kind of dominate in each area is incredible. You can't talk about specific subgenres in Australia without mentioning Hefs being in the top of each of those different corners. Number 2 on my list will be the only controversial one, and that's Nerve. Nerve hasn't done the numbers as half of this list, but Nerve's talent has to shine. Now, do you remember earlier when I said about he was at the top of your list for being producer of the year? I kind of wish it was reserved for this. I wish he was more highly ranked and respected in this list here. Because if we're talking, him as a producer is cold, him as an MC is cold. And then to do that together, how many people in this list produce for themselves and be one of the best producers in the country, and then spit, obviously, and write their own lyrics and do all of that, and be one of the best MCs in the country, on top of just being so quintessentially himself. The definition of Nerve is Nerve. Nerve is doing Nerve things. Like, he's not trying to be anything else. And I've talked about this so much before, and I don't need to go on a big long rant about it, but that's what Nerve's doing. Nerve is literally just doing what he wants, and it is some of the best shit we have heard. Other people do marketing campaigns and strategies to figure out what works best in public opinion. Nerve is just doing what he wants, and it just happens to work. So if we look at what it means to be an artist and what most people's answer will be, which is, I just love the music, etc., etc. Nerve is doing that. Nerve is doing exactly what everybody else says about where their morals lie. Like, it's just second nature for him. He's not trying. And if he is trying, it needs to be fucking recognized. And then my number 1 is, you've guessed it, 1-4. Like, who else? Who else can go above them? And I think they're going to continue to do this for another couple of years, I'll be honest. And just because they got it last year doesn't mean I can't give it to them this year again. Tell me who has had a more successful year than 1-4. Now, maybe next year in 2021, they'll go a little bit more quiet. Maybe because they've had such a heavy and hectic run this year. But knowing this lot, knowing the team they've got around them, they ain't stopping for nothing. They're going to continue. I hope they do more features. I've seen a few they've put on for some people in their area this year, you know, between BYs and Capulet and SVNO, you know, so that's, or 7-0, sorry. So they've, you know, they've put, not only have they put on themselves, but they're putting on other artists as well. You can't have a discussion about Australia without 1-4. The same way you couldn't talk about Aussie Gram without Fracture. The same way you couldn't talk about Aussie R&B without talking about Young and Lips. It's the same way you can't talk about, like, you can't talk about Aussie reactions without mentioning me. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna be egotistical for a moment. You can't talk about Australia. Fuck any subcategory, Australia, without mentioning 1-4. Even if they're not your number one, 1-4. From the older heads down to the newest people, they always mention 1-4. 1-4 are draking Australia. They are Skeptoring Australia. They're not even words, but that's what we're going to do. And so I can look at Skepta and go, they're 1-4 and he's 1-4 in the UK. Drake is 1-4 in America and Canada. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to talk anymore. It's done. And they had to top the list for something. Gosh, like they could pretty much top everything in everything that I've nominated them for. But I think if they were to pick one, it'd have to be just for being the act of the year, for just being the group of the year. And now look at your list. This list, I'm only gonna have one talking point really. The rest kind of makes sense. Chilling it at number 5 makes sense. I'm not mad at it. Husky at number 4. Again, looks about right, sounds about right, not mad at it. Number 3 is HP Boys. Now, let's have a discussion about HP Boys because it's going to seem like I've disrespected them. I've not put their EP in Project of the Year, which was tough for me. Was very, very tough for me. But I just couldn't ignore any of the other projects that were in the list. I just couldn't. And that's tough. That is extremely tough because they created a really good EP in my opinion. They've obviously had the Demon Time remix. They've had standout singles. HP Boys are just doing HP Boy things. I just feel like they're on the same playing field as they were last year, and that's the only reason that I haven't put them in my top 5 list. I feel like everyone I've put in my list has grown. I feel like HP Boys are just kind of hovering where they are, which there's nothing wrong with that because they are still hovering at one of the top spots in the whole fucking country. The only reason I didn't put them in that year is because I didn't see the growth that I believe they would have had. But with all due respect, man, they're still smashing it. They're still doing their thing. They're still at the top of their game, and I only expect them to stay at the top. Whether they grow, whether they fall off slightly, I expect them to stay at the top for another long while. Number 2 on the list is Lisi, and again, I'm not mad at him being number 2. It makes sense for him to be number 2 in the people's eyes for the amount that he's grown, for the amount that he's done, for the amount that he's put on for his area. I'm not mad at him being number 2, and then 1-4 being top of your list. That like, if I was to put my house on anything, it was just that 1-4 was going to be top of the list for you lot, and they were at top of the list by a long fucking country mile. Here's an interesting fact for you. Hef's, Chillin' It, and Husky. So Hef's missing out on your list. Hef's, Chill, and Husky were only 10 votes within each other. So Hef's realistically should be joint like 5th, let's say. Or they should all be joint 4th, and then we can sneak another one in there. Because, yeah, they are all very close with each other. And then, obviously, HP Boys were a little bit above them. Lisi was quite a jump above HP Boys. And then 1-4 was just skyrocketed beyond even Lisi. Like, that was just ridiculous. But, yeah, only 10 votes within each other. Out of 2,400, by the way, that was really close for that 4th and 5th spot. A couple people we haven't talked about. Young and Lips. Young and Lips nearly made my list again for just smashing it this year, growing, for how he's marketed himself. Just Young and Lips has done everything right. Like, Young and Lips has had a fantastic year. Cursor, we didn't really talk about Cursor on the album list either. Cursor's album was a good album. I don't think it's his best album yet. I definitely feel like we can hear his progression and we can hear the development in his sound, and as he's gotten older and as he's matured, you know, just obviously it's not really for me to speak on. For the people who have followed him his entire career will better speak on it, but Curse are doing Curse things, and we're looking forward to his 10th album that should be coming next year. Sydney Young'uns, I know they are, they won't like to hear this, they are overshadowed by 1-4, but you know, I hope they continue to stay active. I hope they continue to make music, because they are, you know, they have the potential to really do excel. I just think they've just got to unlock something, and I don't know what that something is yet. So that's our 6 categories. Let me know if there was any howlers in here. Like, what's the biggest howler? What's the biggest snub? What's the biggest, how the fuck have they missed out in this category? And what's the one that you most agree with? Like, yep, it could never change. No one can tell me otherwise. This is meant to be fun. This is meant to be opinion based. This is not official. Just because someone was first in the list does not outright mean they are the best. It just means through public opinion, whether that be mine or other people in Australia and New Zealand and worldwide. That's just what people think. Hey, and it's just kind of a way to celebrate everything that is here this year. You know, I said this in the project list, like, and as much as we love a top 5 list, a top 10 list, who's number 1? Like, as much as we love that shit, we're mainly here to celebrate all the hard work and quality work that we've seen this year. You know, we're here to celebrate, and we're here to congratulate all of the people that have absolutely smashed it this year with content. In a year that's been very difficult and very challenging for many, from COVID down to personal struggles, you know, people have still managed to push and carry a culture forward. And I think that's fucking beautiful. And there are so many people that wasn't a part of these discussions that still contributed to the culture itself. Wombat, Capulet, Spanion, Shook, JC, Pistol Pete and Enzo, Kobe D, Lord Lance, Menace, Complete, I don't know if I'm saying names twice, Horror Show, Brothers, Kid Leroy, Day One. Like, there are so many people. There are so many people that I could name that are just a part of this, and not just artists. We're talking about the producers, we're talking about the videographers, we're talking about the managers, we're talking about maybe even the labels. Labels isn't, people think that label is a bad thing. No, being a part of a label isn't always a bad thing. Yes, some people are part of shitty deals, doesn't mean everything is, you know. And then most importantly, you lot, like, as fans and as supporters of the scene, innit? Like, you've done your bit, commenting, discussing, sharing, supporting these artists. Like, shout out to everyone who bought a piece of merch from an artist. Shout out to everyone who's, when an artist has put on their first show since lockdown, have gone to it. Shout out to all the people that were tuning in online or just sharing their music or bumping up their streams. Like, shout out to all you, man, that were trying to carry your favorite artists through financially as well difficult times. Shout out to everyone that goes on different reaction channels and goes react to this and and not just ones like me that do Aussie shit. Shout out to the ones who go and do that for the Americans, for the Brits, for the people worldwide. Thank you to the people who, like my origin story to this all, got a random comment saying listen to Aussie grime or Aussie drill or Aussie rap and go, yo, what's this? And then they drag a whole new audience over. Shout out to the people that are going and doing that, and I want you, man, to continue to do that. Go and just share this shit with the world, because that is your job as a fan to do. Like, yeah, the artist can make the music, but it's your job to go and get that word out, in my opinion. So go and do it. So can we just take a moment to just appreciate every bit of good music we've enjoyed, appreciate every bit of progression, every bit of fatherhood, every bit of family, every bit of friend, every bit of love, every bit of talent, every single bar and punchline that we have loved, every video that is memorable, every project that has helped us. Like, we've needed this shit. It's been a tough year for people, and these artists and these people that are in this industry have helped carry people through shit. So let's help carry those people who create that content back. You know what I'm saying? Like, this, all of this is just me being a fan of the music. Like, I know people see me as the guy or see me as the Don, whatever you want to say. Like, ultimately, it just comes from a place of loving this shit, and it's just my thank you back to everyone else. So yeah, man, feel free to have these discussions. Feel free to share this shit. And yeah, don't have a go at me if I didn't pick your favorite thing. Like, I'm so sorry. And if your name wasn't mentioned in this discussion, just please don't take it as disrespect, man. There's just so much going on. I've also been recording for 3.5 hours. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. I started at 11. Like, just bear with me. But no, ultimately, just thank you for everything. Like, thank you, innit? And so yeah, until next year when we do the same thing again, maybe slightly differently, we just continue to celebrate hip hop. And yeah, that's all we can do. Love for the love, people. And yeah, catch you, man, later.